Hello and welcome to our weekly podcast of Everyone Dies. Relax and settle in for our show about serious illness, dying, death, and bereavement. Because even though everyone dies, we're here, so you don't have to do it unprepared. This week we're talking about the 5th year of grieving. We have a whole series about grieving over time, so please take a look at those. You would think that after 5 years, grief should get easier. But then it hits you out of nowhere, like it just happened. And you wonder, why am I still like this? Nothing's wrong with you. Grief doesn't follow a timeline. In this episode, we're talking about what can help you with your grief after 5 years. What you're feeling is not only normal, it's part of loving someone who's gone from your life. I'm Marianne Matzo, nurse practitioner, and I use my experience from working as a nurse for 48 years to help answer your questions about what happens at the end of life.
And I'm Charlie Navarrete, an actor in New York City, and here to offer an every-person viewpoint to our podcast. We're both here because we believe that the more you know, the better prepared you are to make difficult decisions. And remember, this podcast does not provide medical nor legal advice. Please listen to the complete disclosure at the end of the recording.
In the first half, Charlie has our recipe of the week and a report about the top songs used at funerals. In the second half, I have a piece about grieving in the 5th year after the loved one's death. And in our third half, Charlie has a poem by Wendell Berry, poet, novelist, environmentalist. Mr. Berry lives in Port Royal, Kentucky, near his birthplace, where he's maintained a farm for over 40 years. He's the author of over 50 books of poetry, fiction, and essays. His poetry celebrates the holiness of life and everyday miracles that are often taken for granted. So, Charles, How has the weather been in New York City? I hate talking about the weather like an old person, but...
What?
But...
Well,
in February...
February? What about it?
We started having spring. And I don't mean
it
like a
more
little
like
bit
a
of
heat wave.
I don't mean a little bit of spring.
Mm-hmm.
I mean like wah-ba-dabba-doo. Here is spring. Like my roses started getting leaves on them. The irises are higher than my knee. And I've got my house, like in the winter, I kind of do crafts and I kind of like, this is one section, I'm doing this over here and I'm doing this over here. I'm still in winter mode. And the garden is saying, excuse me, miss.
Yeah.
There's some stuff out here that you really need to be doing. So I look out the window and I've got roses blooming. I've got, flowers. I'm just like,
I get it. So you're talking about this. I know this is like bizarre.
Thank you for your empathy over my. And so you know what I do? I get so overwhelmed. I say,
sit down and have a bottle of wine.
Yeah, it's like okay. I'm just gonna like instead of going and doing all these things and putting stuff away and finishing. I'm just like, I don't know. It's a mess inside. It's a mess outside, and it's like, no, you're not supposed to even be doing this yet. So there.
Well, yeah. For our first half, our funeral lunch recipe is for sweet and salty and spicy party nuts. Which, as it so happens, is also my Tinder handle. This spice nut recipe is made using an oven-roasted technique so that you'll get beautiful, perfectly frosted nuts roasted evenly, with no bitter burn spots. Ah, heaven. Da, 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 da.
I'm in heaven.
According to Classic FM, when it comes to funeral music, most of us expect the classics. Ave Maria, Time to Say Goodbye, or a moving orchestral piece. But according to Co-op Funeral Care's 2025 annual report, the list of top funeral songs includes a surprise entry, the iconic theme from Jaws. The two-note Shark Approaches You soundtrack by John Williams has made a splash as one of the UK's most unusual choices for the final farewell. Co-op's data, or for you Star Trek fans, data, drawn from over 90,000 services conducted in the UK in the previous 12 months. Included in the list of the most unique songs are We Like to Party from the Venga Boys, Ding Dong, Witch is Dead, The Wizard of Oz, Gangnam Style, The Psy, or PSY, FBI. Well, okay. Number 4, Jaws, movie soundtrack.
Da-dum.
Da-da, da-da-da-da-da, da-da-da. 5, Dance Monkey, Tones and I. 6, Countdown theme tune. 7, Shipping forecast theme. 8, Firestarter from Paraji. 9, Highway to Hell, AC/DC. 10, 21 Seconds, So Solid Crew. Why Jaws, you ask? I know you didn't ask, but I'm sure you were thinking of it. Well, perhaps it's one last joke. Maybe it's a dramatic send-off. Or maybe some people just really, really love sharks. Now, because I'm sure you're all interested, here's my list of songs to consider. Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer. I Shot the Sheriff. Staying Alive. Dumb Ways to Die. From Willie Nelson, Roll Me Up and Smoke Me When I Die. And from The Man in Black, that's Johnny Cash, Ring of Fire. Listen to these gems while sipping a chilled corpse reviver. Music has a powerful way of bringing back memories, reflecting our personalities, and connecting us to loved ones. Choosing a song that is meaningful to you can be an important part of saying goodbye, whether a traditional hymn or something lighthearted and quirky. Please go to our webpage for this week's recipe of my patty nuts and additional resources for this program. This is the part where we ask for your financial support. Your tax-deductible gift will go directly to supporting our nonprofit journalism so that we can remain accessible to everyone. You can donate at www.everyonedies.org. That's every, the number one, dies.org, or at our site on Patreon under Everyone Dies. Marianne?
Thanks, Charlie. Kristie lives in North Pittsburgh and started writing her personal blog Kristie lives in North Pittsburgh and started writing her personal blog, The Afterglow, following her mother's death from cancer in 2019. And just like that, the world was also facing And just like that, the world is also facing the 5-year COVID-related deaths that occurred during the pandemic. So, during COVID, we dealt with so many loved ones dying, and we're now, at least for some, at that 5-year anniversary point. So Kristie writes about the 5th year of grieving. She said, "These are the lessons that most helped me. 1. Scream in your car. It's cathartic. Trust me. Give it a try. 2. Try not to compare your grief to others. Even if you lost the same person, it's a different relationship. 3. Isolating is normal. Just remember to check in with the ones who check in on you. 4. Ugly cries, like the ones that touch the depths of your soul, are actually quite helpful. They're a release. 5. Express your feelings, whether on paper, to a therapist, a trusted friend, or using any other creative outlet. Get those emotions out so they don't get stuck. Remember what I always say, Charlie, better out than in. 6. It doesn't matter how long it's been since you last heard their voice. The waves of grief can crash into you at any time, any place, when reality hits again that they are really gone. 7, let go of the guilt. We would all go back and do something different if we could. You only had the information that you had at the time, with no way of knowing what was going to happen. You are only human. 8, sometimes it helps to change traditions, so it doesn't hurt as much when they aren't there. 9, but try to find a way to honor them at those events so they feel close to you. 10, anxiety is normal because grief lets fear take over as you are now aware the terrible things that can happen. It makes you feel out of control. Talk to your doctor if you feel it's interfering with your everyday life. 11, try a gratitude journal. I know this is the worst time to ask you to feel grateful, but it helps. Just one thing a day. It could be that you didn't burn dinner that night, but in time it'll get easier. That's how you know you're moving through your darkest days. 12, walk. Just getting out and getting fresh air and exercise can make a difference in your mental health. Try listening to comforting music as you walk. I love being out in nature to clear my mind. 13, time doesn't lessen grief. It's what you do with that time. If you don't grieve, emotions have nowhere to go. You must feel the pain of the loss. Lead into it even if it hurts. That's how you move forward with it. 14, we are our own worst critics. Try giving yourself no judgment. Grieving is frustrating, especially when you have a particularly good day but end up a sobbing mess on the floor the next day. Remember, this journey is not linear. Try talking to yourself like you would your best friend going through the same thing. Be your best friend because you're the only one who knows what this loss feels like. 15, which brings me to self-care. Give yourself love and pep talks and lots of grace. 16, grieving is 1,000 conversations your mind has with your heart. Eventually, your life, that you were given no choice but to live, grows around the pain. It's a long way to go to get used to this different world without your loved one in it. The pain will dull, wounds will heal, then the scab covering it sometimes gets ripped off again during special days, and so on. Which brings me back to number 15, which is give yourself grace and take care of yourself. Because I don't have to tell you how hard it is. You know all too well. Just keep going, 1 minute at a time, 1 hour at a time, then one day. Just keep going. And thank you to Kristie for letting us read her work to you.
Excellent.
Charlie, do you have anything you want to add? Do you have a number 17?
No, but coincidentally, yesterday I co-facilitated a death cafe.
You did?
Yes, and a little shout out there to the Society for Ethical Culture. And yeah, this came up. People, just, and again with the death cafe, is you just talk about death, what it means to you, does it mean anything to you? And we had cake and tea over this. I had coffee. But with that, yeah, grief did come up, and with some people, it was very nice. Everyone felt safe. People, openly cried, and when it came to me, I just, as listeners know, my son Michael was murdered several years ago. I started with that for me with my grief, and as you were saying, Marianne, it's not as traumatic now, 6 years later, but yeah, I mean there are times it just suddenly swells up again, and I give myself that time,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, and sometimes it's a big wave, not too often anymore, but other times just actually, the last time this happened was with a martini when Michael came of age, he took me to a little diner, and because he wanted to buy me a martini. It was very
Uh-huh.
nice. And I said, listen, thank you. Let me take you to a place now. So we went to my favorite joint, Gallagher's, sat down. I introduced him to my favorite bartender and asked Paul for a gin martini. Michael took a sip of it, and his eyes just bulged. Paul makes a mean martini. And I said, "This is a martini. Nothing against what you got. This is a martini." Yeah, that was a very nice memory. So
Mm,
there we are.
I'm glad you had that.
Me too. For our third half, a poem by Wendell titled "A Meeting." In a dream, I meet my dead friend. He has, I know, gone long and far, and yet he is the same. For the dead are changeless. They grow no older. It's I who have changed, grown strange to what I was. Yet I, the changed one, ask, "How you been?" He grins and looks at me. I've been eating peaches off some mighty fine trees. And that's it for this week's episode of Everyone Dies. Thank you for listening and stay tuned. You can find more episodes of our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or your favorite podcast app. Follow and subscribe to the show. Share it with someone who would benefit from the information. This is Charlie Navarrete. And from director Paul Thomas Anderson at the Oscars, I share this with a friend of mine who is on the other side of the shadows, named Adam Sumner.
And I'm Marianne Matzo, and we'll see you next week. Remember, every day is a gift.
This podcast does not provide medical advice. All discussion on this podcast, such as treatments, dosages, outcomes, charts, patient profiles, advice, messages, and any other discussion are for informational purposes only and are not a substitute for professional medical advice or treatment. Always seek the advice of your primary care practitioner or other qualified health providers with any questions that you may have regarding your health. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something you have heard from this podcast. If you think you may have a medical emergency, call your doctor or 911 immediately. Everyone Dies does not recommend or endorse any specific tests, practitioners, products, procedures, opinions, or other information that may be mentioned in this podcast. Reliance on any information provided in this podcast by persons appearing on this podcast at the invitation of Everyone Dies or by other members is solely at your own risk.